Hello, everyone. Thanks to Julia, Christy, and Polly for talking about the various developments in GenAI and multimodality in Hong Kong. I'm Dr. Aditi Javeri from the Center for Language Education at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, where we are tackling one of the most urgent challenges in English across the curriculum, which is how to cultivate critical reading and writing in the age of GenAI. Today, I'm really excited to share the details of our massive open online course, a MOOC project designed to help learners interrogate AI-generated texts and how we can compose and consume content mindfully and transfer these skills across disciplines from lab reports to policy briefs. Because whether it's a ChatGPT draft or AI-generated data, English proficiency now demands AI literacy. Our approach is therefore to empower learners to not just be consumers of AI, but also be critics and creators. So here we are. What you see on the screen is Leon Furz's framework of critic, consumer, and creator, which in a sense captures our dilemma. GenAI now writes essays. It generates infographics and even scripts videos. But the tension is when students consume AI outputs uncritically, they risk becoming passive learners. When they create with AI mindlessly, they outsource their agency and their thinking. So what's the antidote? Teaching them to critique, to ask whose bias is this data set showing? Or why did Midjourney depict leadership in this way, whether they are analyzing an AI-written paragraph or a multimodal presentation? And we are working on this project because the stakes are pretty high. Algorithms curate filter bubbles, and GenAI generates those bubbles. They hallucinate citations and recycle biases. Multimodal tools like Runaway ML or DALL-E compound this. Because students might trust a synthetic video because it looks professional without questioning its sources or silences. This isn't hypothetical. I mean, it's been proved by various scholars such as Wu et al., who show how over-reliance erodes metacognition, the ability to reflect on one's own thinking. And let's see how our critical thinking can be hindered or can decline because of GenAI. So reliance on GenAI basically comes at a huge cognitive cost. When tools handle analysis, synthesis, and argumentation, students' higher order thinking, evaluation, critical analysis, independent judgment are all compromised. This means that passive consumption can replace active engagement. Texts become, in a way, items to accept rather than arguments to interrogate. The struggle with ambiguity, the joy of discovery, these essential learning experiences get outsourced to algorithms. So this isn't just about the quality of the text we produce. It's about preserving the very habits of mind that define our academic rigor. So when we shortcut thinking, we don't just lose skills, we lose the power of acquiring scholarship itself. Let's look at this next slide, which is talking about a similar issue about large language models and biases. And GenAI doesn't necessarily create bias, but what happens is that if we don't think about these GenAI texts, then what we don't realize is that GenAI texts can amplify existing inequalities. So when training data, for example, underrepresents women or minorities or global South perspectives, then outputs replicate those gaps. So that's why our MOOC tackles this head-on, teaching participants to spot algorithmic bias in outputs, trace exclusionary patterns back to the source data, and compensate for these gaps in their own critical thinking. Because true AI literacy means understanding not just how the tools work, but also who it works for and who gets left out in the text. So these are the skills we are trying our students to master, for our students to master. And that's why we come to the next topic, that our MOOC is designed to train participants in basically creating prompts, different kinds of prompts. For example, zero-shot prompting, and how these can be used to test AI's raw assumptions, few short examples which steer responses with curated cases, very specific examples, and chain of thought prompting, which is demanding the AI to show us a step-by-step reasoning of how it came to its conclusions. But we can go a step further by using tree of thought prompting, for example. And here we teach students and learners to branch through multiple reasoning paths, interrogating gaps, comparing alternatives, and refining queries. This just isn't about better outputs, but it's about sharpening our own critical questions in the response, and the process of conversing with AI. So the best AI collaboration starts with basically human precision, and we are encouraging our students to be more precise in their prompts. Now we are going to talk about a few AI tools, such as Elicit, and how we are, through our MOOC, helping students to learn how to use these. So our MOOC basically reimagines various AI tools to promote scholarly vigor. For example, Elicit is used to teach learners to interrogate AI-curated papers, asking why certain studies appear, why certain studies are left out, annotate research reports highlighting where AI summaries might oversimplify complex findings, or auditing systematic reviews, tracing how inclusion criteria affect conclusions. So not just using Elicit to find papers or to conduct research, but also to interrogate the text itself with its biases, with its assumptions. And now we are going to talk about the next tool, Semantic Scholar. And in a similar vein, what we are doing is teaching learners to use Semantic Scholar, not just as a search tool, but as a critical thinking partner for saving, using, and more importantly, for questioning the text it generates. And of course, other tools, one of the very important ones is Consensus AI. So Consensus AI can be used as a reliability radar. So our MOOC helps students to learn about how it can be used to gauge scientific agreement on key findings and spot contested claims that need deeper scrutiny. And by revealing where researchers agree and where debates rage, we hope to turn AI outputs into critical thinking springboards, not just as shortcuts. And this is our final slide. And here I just want to summarize some of the key points we have talked about. So our MOOC trains participants to use GenAI more critically to help with their critical reading and writing across English across the curriculum through various disciplines. For example, to use Research Rabbit to map scholarly networks, then question whose voices are centered or excluded in these connections, using Perplexity for real-time fact-checking, teaching learners to verify AI answers against primary sources, through Cite to analyze citation context, not just counts, to spot when evidence is supported or contradicted over time, and SciSpace and Chat PDF to help digest complex papers by focusing on how to annotate AI summaries and comparing the different interpretations and also tracking omissions. So basically enabling our students to use these different multimodal tools or tools that focus just on writing itself, to read them, consume them, and also create text much more critically through the use of GenAI. And in a way, we are combining multimodality, reading, writing, with the developments in GenAI so that our students can use all of these in a much more critical fashion, and they're not just accepting what they read. They're not just accepting what's created by others. They're actually challenging assumptions and biases and interrogating texts before they accept them and use them, but at the same time become more efficient by using these tools. So, and here are the references that I used for my talk today. And thank you very much for listening. I'll